Hi. Hi, everybody. I am just so happy to be here. Oh my God, and I get to see all of you. Hi, everybody. Hi, Kali. Hi, Tis. Hi. Hi, June. How, Patty? China, China from Texas. Mi Gabrielite, tan bellex. Hola. Oh my God, Christian Appel. Hi, beautiful people. Jay. Oh my God, this is so beautiful. I know that somebody is going to say something because I like to spend a lot of time, but you know what, I love seeing my people. It's just so good to see you all. You know, this is, are such a like critical times, and we're going to talk a little bit about, like, how we miss. I don't know all of you, but I miss seeing you all in person. I miss, like, touching you. I'm Latina. Everything is a kiss and a hug. I miss all of that. I just went through, like, losing one of my best friends, and I had to mourn her without seeing anybody, without touching anybody, without hugging anybody. And it's such a unique, terrible experience. So at least I get to see you all. So it makes me happy. So nobody can tell me shit. I'm going to just look at all of you and recognize you all here because I can do it. Who's going to tell me anything, right? So thank you all for being here. This is such an amazing group. Um, Before we start, I wanted to let you all know that we have closed captions, so you can press the button in the bottom of your Zoom window, and English language subtitles will appear there. We really messed up with the fact that we didn't think about having an ASL person, and that's something that we own as an error and a mistake and a shortcoming, and we will make sure that from now on we can have an ASL interpreter for everybody. Today we were not able to concrete that in a short
Hacer
period
eso
of time,
concretamente.
but we will do different. And now what I want to say is I want to introduce Colectivo Babilla, who will be doing translation this evening. They will be sharing now how to listen in today's event in Spanish. So what's up, Babilla? ¿Qué pasó?
Hola, hello. Hola, so we're very, can you hear me? Oh, wonderful. Oh, I'm on the big screen. I'm never used to this. I'm always behind the mic on the little corner. Okay, so we'll be using the Zoom interpretation feature to do simultaneous interpretation for the event today. And I'm going to do consecutive interpreting now very quickly to explain how it works, and then we will start the interpretation. So, entonces, vamos a hacer interpretación simultánea hoy en el evento, inglés-español. Y ahora lo voy a explicar en los dos idiomas consecutivos antes de comenzar el simultáneo. For those folks using computers, you'll see after I'm done speaking, Seed will turn on the interpretation feature, and you will see a little globe icon at the bottom of your screen with the word interpretation. You can click on it and choose the language. There's going to give you three options: English, Spanish, or off. Entonces, para las personas que estén usando una computadora, cuando Sid comience la interpretación, van a ver un globito al fondo de su pantalla, va a decir interpretación, le dan clic, le van a dar tres opciones: inglés, español o apagado. If you want to hear everything in English, or you can choose English. If you're bilingual, you can leave it off. And then if you want to hear everything in Spanish, interpreted simultaneously, you can click Spanish. Entonces, para las personas que hablen inglés, pueden escoger inglés. Para las personas que son bilingües, lo pueden dejar apagado, y para las personas que quieran escuchar completamente todo en español, interpretado simultáneamente, pueden escoger en español. We're putting on the chat instructions how to access on your smartphone if you're logging in through the app. Entonces, en el chat vamos a poner instrucciones de cómo accesar la interpretación desde su teléfono smartphone a través de la aplicación de Zoom. So we're gonna start it right now. So, yep. And you should be hearing Pao right now interpreting.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Pao and Patri and the whole Colectivo Babilla. I cannot recommend them enough. If you need some interpretation to Spanish, Babilla is the best. So if you do need, just please make sure that you get in touch with them and hire them to translate whatever event you have. They're amazing. We were thinking about having this event and talk about, like, you know, the beauty of mutual aid and the beauty of community, and have fun and have a good time and enjoy ourselves. And at the same time, we really need to take a minute to reflect in the current situation and what is happening to our community. And in the past week, we've seen the murder of 3 Black trans women. Tiffany Harris of New York City, Keisha Hardy of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and Asia Raquel of Portland, Oregon. This year, we already lost 26 community members that we know of, that we have an understanding of, because I always think that in reality, it's a lot of people that don't make it to the news. You know, what is going on? You know, what's happening to us? I feel like I can't, my tears get dry from crying one community member. And when I dry those tears, I already am crying for the next one. I wanna mention that, you know, it's not normal that the fact that this community member are Black trans women. This is not just about transphobia. This is all about misogyny, and this is all about racism. And the ones that always get the worst are our Black trans sisters, and we have to support them. We have an obligation to support our Black trans sisters in these specific moments. I am really going through so many feelings, like, you know, the fact that, you know, one of these murders happened right here in New York City, you know, in the Bronx. It really reminds us that, you know, none of us are safe, and that's a hard reality to live on. So now, you know, I was discussing with my team, like, you know, maybe we should stop doing moments of silence, and we should do a moment of rage, because sometimes I really want to yell and scream. But for today, we're gonna take a moment to focus on the life of these 27 community members that we lost. And we wanna say we love you, we wanna say we miss you, and we're gonna say we will get justice for each of you. So It's going to be a moment of silence, but it's also going to be a moment of commitment for our community members. So let's take a moment. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all. Um, uh, I'm going to go back to what I was saying before. You know, I love seeing all of you here. I love seeing my community. You know, you all have saved my life, and we can continue saving each other, and we are the most amazing community. Let's not forget that. Let's not forget that. And we are here for each other all the time, and we are here supporting each other in whatever we need. And you know, my community has never failed me though. When you know, when the states and the government and the institutions and the nonprofits sometimes fail me, my community didn't. My community was always there for me, feeding me, giving me a place to sleep, giving me clothes, helping me go through life. My community has been amazing. So today we are going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about mutual aid. How do we help each other? How do we support each other? How do we get a sense of family? Because that's what we are, right? People coming together, to take care of each other's needs. We do this recognizing that as human, and especially as trans people, our survival really depends on each other. We really do depend on each other at all times. So today, I'm such a spoiled girl. Look at, did you all check out the lineup that we have? Isn't that the most glorious, richest, abundant lineup? How much talent, how much love, how much beauty can we have? I'm such a spoiled girl though. I get to be hanging out today with all of you and talking with Tourmaline about her film Happy Birthday Marsha, which is so amazing. We're gonna have a conversation with my sister Ceyenne Doroshow, and we're gonna have a conversation with one of the love of my life, Sasha Alexander. We're gonna be talking with Milo Primeaux from upstate, and we're gonna have a training with Rio Sofia about fundraising, because nobody does that better than her. So she's gonna teach us all a little bit about fundraising, and at the end, we have the honor to witness Keke Velazquez, Lord, who is gonna do a performance for all of us. I mean, I can't get enough of her. She's really amazing. So with that, I tell you all, welcome to Building Legacies, TGNC MB Mutual Aid. Thank you for being here. Welcome. We will be sending a recorded version of this, so you can watch it and share it if you want. So to all of you that register, you will be receiving a recorded version, so you can share it or do whatever you want with it. So you can also share your thoughts in the chat. And if you have questions for the panelists that you want us to ask that I don't get to ask maybe, just please put it in the questions, and we will have a Q&A session at the end. So if you want, you can raise your hand and you'll be called on at the end to put the questions that you may have. So the first person that I am going to introduce is I feel like saying that he's my very good friend is such a like short homage to this amazing person, but he is my very good friend, and I learned so much from him, and such an amazing organizing. Sasha Alexander is a mixed race, Black and South Asian queer, trans educator, facilitator, multimedia artist, healer, they're a healer, and community organizer. She has been doing this work for the last 15 years, and in many ways, he's just the most amazing organizer. He gets that title, and they get to say, I am the most amazing organizing, because she is. They are the director of membership of Sylvia Rivera Law Project in Manhattan, and the founder of Black Transmedia, which is one of my favorite organizations. Black Transmedia creates media to amplify the Black trans experience, organize events around issues of injustice and liberation, and connects Black trans folks to each other to build, showcase, heal, and celebrate their own lives. So with that, thank you so much, Sasha, for being here. You can go to the chat and see all the ways that you can support Sasha through Black Transmedia, through Venmo, through Cash App, to PayPal, and you can donate to Black Transmedia also through their fiscal sponsor. All of that information is in the chat. Hi, Sasha. Hi, my love.
Hi, my love. Thank you so much for just all your words and acknowledgement and just invitation to this space. Just so happy to be here with y'all.
Oh, I am just so lucky to have you. So let's start this conversation, and I wanted to ask you, what would you say are some of the values that guide your work and your plans for the future?
Yeah, this is a really great question. Okay, shout out to Dov and Tourmaline. I love all y'all. I've been thinking a lot about this, especially like within the uprisings, or even as there's continued violence against our communities, because I think there are some things we do agree on and things we want to see, but I think the values that we hold are really deeply important to us being able to like liberate ourselves and actually achieve what we want and not shift away. And so some of those things I'll share that have emerged in my work, specifically like around our framework in Black Transmedia, has been Olympia Sudan, who's a co-director, always says this thing about practicing your beliefs in order to believe them. And so we have this value about, if you are an abolitionist, if you believe in disability justice, if you believe in racial justice, trans justice, then those are daily practices that we're engaged in terms of just transforming ourselves, our relationships to power, and our communities. Also something, especially lately, that has been in my mind as a value is like being generational and intentional. And though there are like very urgent needs and things that our folks need right now, the reality is that those urgent needs are long-term needs. And if we are not thinking about things beyond just this moment, we're literally like doing a lot of that work of white supremacy to just like be responding in the now and burn out and not think about longevity and our communities and our futures. So the other one that's really important to me politically, personally, is like free the land and free the people, and just thinking about the mutuality of all things and our connections and our movements and our communities here, and being intentional about our relationship to the land and everything on the land, along with our communities. And I would also just say another one that I think is really important is to like listen to your line and to know your legacy. And, you know, in this radical tradition of Black and trans revolutionaries, knowing your history, whether it's like the Black Panthers or Black August or Compton's Cafeteria. But to me, it's a really important value that our folks need to have an understanding of where we've been and be in conversation with that history and with those ancestors and folks to continue to guide our work. Other than that, I would just say, like, I really deeply value, like, thinking about intersections of oppression and liberation and transformation, and definitely the power of media and storytelling in terms of shifting those things. So just so I don't persist, because I could talk about my values probably with y'all all day.
And I have to say, Sasha and I are like really like spending a lot of time looking at land upstate, and I just dream with you having this vast amount of land where you can house yourself and your wife and your friends and your people, and cultivate the land and get the produce of the land and make your food with it. And that is just, oh, I get goosebumps. I get goosebumps.
I will say that land is already out there, and there are people who are already cultivating that land. Many of us like have this collective desire and dream together, and like that has both already been happening in places and is definitely happening. And I didn't get to say it, but it's true. Another value, and you make me think of this, is just like love and the power of love in a world that is like killing us and locking us up and detaining our folks. That like love is actually a strategy, and it's something that we can use to think about how we thrive. And the other thing, of course, a lot of folks know my work centers around Black trans communities, but really feeling like that we can, when we say we want to support a certain community, we can actually value and center that community and like actually think about long-term investment into that. So I appreciate you saying that, because the land, it's been something that we've been talking about for many years, and you and I have personally been talking about, and it's like, it's happening. And I think my also concern is how to protect ourselves as our folks do get access to that, knowing that we live on land and in a country where laws and policies and people more generally, their attitudes towards trans people, people of color, immigrants, low-income people, right, and us more generally is, can be very dangerous for us. So I appreciate being able to talk about that and how that work we're doing is just like so critical.
I think, like, you know, I have like such an, you know, I have such an admiration for you in so many levels, but you know, the fact that you kind of like, you were able to really put into practice your dream by funding with the amazing Olympia Sudan, who is also your wife, creating Black trans media. And I wanted to ask you, like, you know, how did you go about it? Like, you know, what was the process of creating an organization to provide opportunities for Black trans folks to support each other, though?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that question, because I feel like at the time, it was just, I just felt called, you know. It was just like, you know, a lot of us are like, oh, where's the person or entity or organization that does X, Y, Z? And it might not be there, or they might not be meeting that need. And, you know, just kind of realizing like no one was gonna give me permission to do it. And I was just gonna like literally just have to feel like, based on the skills I had even built, that I could, you know, share what I had learned about political education, organizing, making media, strategy. And so really it started with like creating a mission and values and a framework, and being really clear and intentional about that strategy, and wanting to build something different, feeling like, you know, there's a lot of Black trans people in New York City, and I always say this thing about how we're over-serviced and underserved. Like, there's a lot of service organizations that exist, and we go to a lot of places, but a lot of those places are very anti-Black or anti-trans or both. And, you know, despite like so many Black trans leaders across New York City and beyond, who've always done a really incredible work, there are very few spaces that are just about and only about, well, at the time when we first formed, just Black trans identity. And I really felt like that was because anti-Blackness and transphobia, and so wanted to be really intentional also as a youth organizer about carving out space for young people, for elders, thinking about disability justice, thinking about really just I've been through nonprofits and other, agencies and institutions, and so are all of our folks, and how to like really feel like we're building something different. And in terms of like how we actually then did that, like it literally started in my living room. That's how I met Olympia. I did a Black Trans Love as Wealth event. It was very cultural organizing we were doing, base building, building power, like in communities, right, where there's a ton of Black trans people or trans people in this city, but where are we building power, right, for those folks? So it started really there. And in terms of like how just to keep going about it, I think one challenge has been like, at some point you have to think about like, how are you receiving, like, are you taking in money, right? So are you gonna incorporate? Are you gonna get a fiscal sponsor? Are you gonna be a collective? How are decisions gonna get made? Who holds power? All of those things are like such important things to think about. And I think I've gone about that definitely not in isolation, like with a lot of other Black trans people, informed by the politic of a lot of other Black trans people, and really trying to, I don't know, just always continue to think about our Black trans futures and be able to think about like right now and creating something that's sustainable for our folks, but also, the end game is not to have Black trans media here forever, to create the kind of landscape or push the landscape so that, we are moving into the next, iteration of what our folks need, as our folks are telling more of their stories, as our folks, have more access. And so, also shout out to, somebody mentioned House of Pentacles, which is like a sibling kin organization of Black trans folks out of Durham, North Carolina, and love to them. But yeah, also I would say, or the last thing I would say, is like, yeah, we did not do that in isolation. How we did that was with a movement of Black trans people across the country, across the world, who have been calling for these things before we came in, and like just building off of, talk about legacies, but building off of that legacy to be able to hopefully propel forward and make sure people know it is completely fine to have Black trans specific space, that we need that. And that doesn't mean we're not building solidarity with other communities, but there's really critical work we need to do there and in getting to claim that space for our folks.
My love, before I feel like I'm taking so much from you, and I appreciate so much of like, this amazing narrative and the work that you do. I wanted to, before we move on to the next person, I wanted to, because I've been seeing you working so much, delivering food, helping people with money, helping people with housing. What, and you've been doing this forever, but, tell me about the last 4 months. What's, how did this situation shape your work?
Oh, that's a great question. In many ways, these were the things a lot of us, like, Cayenne's been doing this forever. Like most people were doing what they were doing before this happened, but when this happened, it's like, there were all sorts of threats and opportunities, happening. All of a sudden there's money that's appearing. There's people who all of a sudden want to help. There's all of a sudden mutual aid networks in everybody's neighborhood that could have always been there. And some of that, I will be honest, as an organizer, was really frustrating to see, because some of it just felt like it reflected like gentrification and some dynamics of just like certain people having power, certain people being able to communicate their needs, and at the same time, there were some really beautiful, powerful ways people, like I live in Crown Heights, like, that I've been able to connect with people through that, and ways that I felt like I haven't felt comfortable or like it's accessible to express the needs of things that my community needs. So I do think like it's incredible that work like sprung up, and that most of us that were already doing that were doing that, and that more people came in to do that work. But I also think what happened is, with all things, like that got co-opted, and people, of course, like this is just capitalism, like people want to monetize mutual aid. So like people want to like profit off of it essentially. And in some ways, like, we can debate about what mutual aid is and like capitalism and mutual aid. But in some ways, I do feel like some of the, I don't know, the values, right, that some people might say are upheld were very graciously used. The term has been very graciously used. In some ways, I think that's awesome. Let more people engage in work that feels collective or mutual in some aspect. And in other ways, I'm like, let's get into how just meeting immediate needs in like small doses is, is important Band-Aid work, but is Band-Aid work, right? And that also there's supposed to be long-term strategies of mutual aid, which I think many of us are struggling with because of the systems that we're in, but that's why mutual aid exists, right? Because we acknowledge that the system is inherently not going to meet people's needs, right? So we're already working from that assumption, right? Some people are working on that, and that's fine. But those of us who are working from that frame are trying to build those other systems that are not replicating that. And I think, I don't know, I've seen a lot of really beautiful moments, like I said, but I think that there always needs to be more strategy. And there are many times that there are folks who are not able to access those mutual aid networks, whether for lots of reasons, whether folks are in a shelter and there's no Wi-Fi in the shelters, whether, language access issues, disability justice access issues, just not thinking about certain communities. And there's a mutual aid for all sorts of communities, but maybe there's a community of, people that aren't seeing that. So I just think, I think we could have all been in better communication, like about what we were doing to try to meet those needs. And yet we didn't know what was going on in our lives or what was going to happen. We've been losing people, grieving, we've been in uprising. So at the same time, I think, I've just learned we really need to balance the urgent needs with the long-term needs. We cannot get distracted by meeting immediate needs and not acknowledging those things people are always gonna need those things. Yeah. So I just, trying to move, again, more towards not mainstreaming mutual aid and also thinking like not relying on the state for these things. Yeah, it's nice that the state wants to give us things. And also that's very complicated. What does it mean for us to provide, for someone to just give up stuff? And I guess the last thing I'll say is when I think about mutual aid, I've been building with Wild Seed, talk about if we had land. It's 150 acres off the Hudson that was given to queer and trans people of color. And I think mutual aid is about people like leveraging their power. And I don't see enough of that. People need to give up their land. People need to give up their space. People, it's okay to move like your extra food to folks. That is actually really critical. Food insecurity is huge in New York City and everywhere. And yet, what's the long-term strategy for that, right? So that's, I guess I just, those are a lot of the things I'm thinking about. And again, I guess the last thing is someone on the ground, like a lot of us, just also have to balance taking care of ourselves with taking care of other people and, really just thinking about like, who is it on the front line that is providing that? And like really trying to make sure we're building more capacity and skills for other people to know how to do that and tap in.
Hi. How much do I learn from you? Thank you. Thank you, Sasha. Thank you so much for being here. Stay around. Maybe we're gonna get some questions from people, and in the chat, and maybe if you see, you can find ways to support Black trans media through Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal, and you can also donate through the fiscal sponsor if you need a tax deductible receipt. You can do it through that. But don't, if you have a coin, drop it there, because that coin is to do amazing work. So thank you, Sasha. Thank you so much for being here. Please stay around with us.
Thank you so much, Padilla.
Because you're gonna get to see a movie very soon.
Oh, I'm not going anywhere. I got people on here, like, I need to hear from Cayenne. I'm waiting to hear from Tourmaline. Like, I'm staying around. There's not anywhere to go, so I'll be around. I love y'all.
I love you. So now I have to introduce, what an honor. Oh my God. I am such a fan of Tourmaline. Tourmaline is an artist and filmmaker whose work includes Celestia, Meryl of Fame. Atlantis is a Sea of Bones, which is one of my favorite movies. Personal Things, Lost in the Music, and Happy Birthday, Marsha, that I had the pleasure to watch a while ago. She's also an editor at Trapdoor, an anthology of transcultural production published by the New Museum and MIT Press. What what a lucky girl I am to have Tourmaline and to be able to talk with her and see what she's gonna show us in a minute. Hi, Tourmaline. Hi.
Hi, can you hear me? Hi,
Hi.
y'all. It's such an honor to be here. I really appreciate all of the labor that went into making tonight happen. It feels so intentional, and it feels, Sid is reminding me to speak slowly, and it feels slow. Meaning it feels like a slow, steady, like tsunami wave of power that we've been growing and growing and growing for a very long time to get us right where we are right now. And it's beautiful. And I feel really honored to be part of this wave that we're riding. I want to follow up what Sasha was saying about land. The film that I'm going to share is called Salacia, and it's about Seneca Village, which was a free Black community in New York, one of the only places where Black people at the time could own land. No one in the city was trying to sell us land. It also meant that some members of Seneca Village could then vote. It was a kind of political power that came with owning land at the time. And this was a moment when slavery was still legal in New York. Slavery didn't end in New York till 1841, which when you think about it, that's actually not that long ago, right? And so Seneca Village was started by a mutual aid fund. It was called the African Society for Mutual Relief. And I really want to make sure that we remember that. Mutual aid can mean direct, immediate support, right? But it can also mean, just like we were talking a moment ago, having land, coming together, dreaming together, being together, right? There's a real power in our togetherness, which is part of the reason why the city didn't want to sell us land in the first place, you know what I mean? So Seneca Village was destroyed through the use of a thing called eminent domain, which still exists. It's when the powers that be, the state says, you know, rather than having this thing here, we want to have this thing here. So Seneca Village was destroyed and Central Park was built on top of it. Central Park was a place for wealthy people to ride their horses. Seneca Village was a place where Black people, our people, gathered together, right? And this was a moment when a lot of free Black people were stolen, kidnapped, and sold into slavery in the South. So I just want to really foreground the possibility, the expansiveness of what mutual aid can be. It can be all of the things that are important, right? And so, you know, I think it's really timely. I'm always thinking about how Seneca Village was started by mutual aid, right? And so that's this is a powerful conversation that we're having tonight. I just want to say, you know, it's a necessary conversation that we're having tonight.
It is.
So the film that I made is about that dream of Seneca Village. It's about encouraging us to dream as wide, as big as possible, knowing that we're not going to leave behind our community who's dreaming about paying rent, eating food, getting some money to do some pleasurable things, to have some nice DMs, to have some good sex. Like all of those things, right, are important, but we also get to dream real, real wide. And so the film Salacia is about dreaming so wide. And it's also about this person, Mary Jones, who was a Black trans person in the 1830s who was, you know, one of the earliest people to be like outed as trans. She was beautiful. There's this beautiful lithograph of her. And I really wanted to make a film about our history, right? About where we're coming from and where we're going. So I'm just going to stop there and I've never shared my screen before, so if someone wants to help me understand how to do that.
Yeah.
So, Sid was saying that it was playing a little choppy, so we'll figure that out for folks who want to watch it again. But sometimes it's kind of nice, you know, I was worried about, oh, it's going to be a bit of a lag. Sometimes it's nice when we move a little slow because it gets us to see it in a different way. So hopefully the message behind it, which is that we can really be anything that we want to be. We can dream as big as we want to, whether that's for land or feeling pleasure or coming together. That's what we deserve, right? And so Rowan Amon is Mary Jones, and Rowan Amon's just so powerful, and was also in Atlantic Sea of Bones with Egypt LaBeija, who is the star, along with Fatima of Atlantic Sea of Bones. And part of my work is, so I started doing organizing before I was doing filmmaking, and I remember, so in 2005, so that's, I guess it's like 15 years ago, a group of us were like putting on the first Trans Day of Action. So I was thinking about it ahead of this, and we were hanging out at the old Housing Works location. It was Tracy Bumpus. I don't know if folks remember her, but Tracy Bumpus and Lawrence Hunter and Ola Osaze and Amani Henry. I mean, the Egypt LaBeija, Bianca Cran, so many of us were just, being together, right? And talking about our past. And a few years ago, before that was 2002, when I was really getting involved, and we were doing things like, all different kinds of organizing around, like just getting to use the bathroom, things that are still our issues today, right? And so to me, that's when my love for our past and wanting to show and illuminate that as a way forward, the powerful people that came before really started in those rooms when we were putting together the first Trans Day of Action here in New York City, and over 15 years ago now, just talking about who we are and what we want and dreaming up the future and remembering the past. And now that's what we're doing still in an even more powerful way.
Such a powerful statement that, the fact that we can be whatever we want to be is such a powerful statement, because I don't know all of you in the room tonight, but I feel like when I started my transition, I felt like I had to leave so many dreams, right? And I had to choose in between going to school or being trans. And I had to choose in between getting the job of my dreams or being trans. And I had to choose in between my family or being trans. And I had to choose in between having a boyfriend that holds my hand in the street or being trans, right? And I always felt like, that I couldn't do all the things that I wanted, and that I had to leave all of there because of my transness. So it's such a powerful statement, for me personally, when you said we can be whatever we want, we can do whatever we want. So it's such a beautiful work. And I don't want to take too much of your time, Tourmaline, but I wanted to ask you how the idea of Salacia came about for you.
I think that part of it is just looking around the community, look what Cayenne did. You know what I mean? It's Cayenne's we can do whatever. Oh, there's just so many people on this very call who are we can do whatever we want, and we're making it so tangible, so irrefutable, so beautiful, so to me, it was just looking around at the people who I've long admired, who I just am in love with, and being okay, let's make sure that we hold that mirror up of our power and our beauty and our joy and our making ways out of no way, and in our togetherness, you know, like, and have fun with that, you know. And things are really hard. It's not to say, you know, like those of us who are Black and trans and Black and non-binary, we're every day we're really aware, like shit's hard. And also, like, I don't know, things get to be funny and playful and light too, you know, like I think that is, to me, where the power is, you know, like seeing us bring all of that, you know, joy and laughter in the midst of it. Miss Major talking about like Rent Boy and, you know, cool drink of water being the most pleasurable thing, and like, you know, like just being in our desire, and also like how that's not separate from making sure that no one's in Rikers anymore, you know, like all of those aspects are so necessary, and that's what our community models every day, with all the speakers on the call are doing every day.
Tourmaline, I cannot express how grateful I am to you and to your art.
Grateful to you. You lifted me up. I remember when we met, and you were like, you helped me in a moment of just, you're always doing it, when I was kind of real low, and you were like, I see you, I've got you, and you really changed my life. So whenever I get a phone call from you, I'm always here.
Love you. I love you. I love you so much. I love you so much. Please all, here is Tourmaline's Venmo, and here is Tourmaline Twitter and her Instagram, and just support this amazing creator, artist. And like, you know, when I was young, we were not meant to make movies. So I am grateful that I made it to age 48, when I can see a young sister making a freaking movie, y'all. You know, this is so amazing, so amazing. So of course I'm here for you always. Thank you, Tourmaline, and so grateful for your art. Thank you. We have to move on because we still have a lot. I have to introduce you all with, I met this woman years ago, and I guess I can't share that much because of confidentiality, but you know, when I met her, I knew that she was so special. And she taught me so much about the trans community, and it was like such a pleasure to, I don't believe in God, but I believe in energy. And I think the universe put her in my path because the universe wanted to give me for all the pain and suffering, and the universe says, here is Rio Sofia, so you can have something good in your life. The last couple of months have been really incredible in so many ways, but one of the things that stood up the most is how much fundraising has changed, right? We've seen a huge amount of money shared in a way that I have never seen before, right? And one of the people who has been behind of all of that is Rio, right? She's the visual artist and arts administrator and organizer, the programs and operation directors at Queer Art, and she's the co-founder of Body Hug, which is the best fundraiser ever. When we were able to do it in person, it was the best night in the city. And I had an opportunity to be in one of them, via Zoom, and it was amazing fundraiser, so much fun. She has been in the most amazing campaigns, including the one for Glitz, who we're gonna talk a little bit later with Cayenne, and the family of Mercy Max, and others. And she have raised about 1.5 million in the last couple of months. check that out. So Rio has agreed to give us a presentation with some lessons she learned about making successful fundraising campaigns. And I am so happy to have her here. So take it away, Rio, mi amor.
Hello.
Ay, tan bella.
I am so glad that you clocked me 7 years ago at Apacha in the waiting room and you were like, that's a trans woman. Let's talk.
And we will go our sessions will be in Starbucks and yeah, I totally clocked it and I was like, I'm not letting you escape.
You're good at it. You're good at
Yes,
it.
mama. Here I have all this estrogen for you. Whenever you want is here.
Okay, so I'm here to talk fundraising. Okay, so this is going to be my first formal presentation around mutual aid. So it's going to be a little bit circular. You know, there's going to be parts that, you know, I'm still refining it. So bear with me, deal with it, and let's get going.
Yes.
So just to give y'all a little bit of a background on my you know, when I started fundraising and sort of how it came about, I just want to provide a brief background. So I first started working around redistribution when I was in college, and was basically, you know, I was doing organizing work outside of the city, but being a college student was thinking about all of the money that this institution had and like wanted to be able to try to find ways to get as much of that money out as possible and into better hands. And so some of the things that I would do when I was in school was, you know, I started a student-run lecture series, and so, you know, use that sort of platform to be able to invite folks who are not, you know, being talked about, who are not being shared at school, and to be able to get them paid to do gigs like that. Some other things that we did is me and my friends started all of these like fake clubs, like kickboxing club and witches club and like all of these clubs in order to get funding, and then we would take the funding that we would get and we would redistribute it to folks outside of the school. So for any folks who are in college, that's a great way to get started, is to sort of just see what kind of pockets, who are your people in the administration at schools who have access to money, and how can you get on their good side, how can you get the money out of the school and into the hands of the TGNC community. While I was in school, I was also, you know, another sort of big part of my origin story as a fundraiser is F2L, which I super duper want to highlight. F2L is a group that has been doing really, really amazing support work for Black and brown, queer and trans people who are incarcerated in New York State. That's honestly the person who founded F2L is where I have learned so much of my politics around fundraising and redistribution, and around who to fundraise for and how to fundraise and how to form relationships while doing redistribution. That person is Mitchell Mora. I'm going to share a doc at the end that has a whole bunch of really helpful links. So it's all in there. But, you know, through Mitchell, I learned so much about the nonprofit industrial complex, about what the challenges are of fundraising outside of the nonprofit system. It's really vital to be able to do that, because we know in the ways in which like nonprofits are often, you know, sources of a lot of white moderation and a lot of bureaucracy, and can really slow down what often needs to be really urgent, rapid response work. And also sometimes, you know, we don't necessarily know when we donate to a lot of nonprofits how the money is distributed, right? And so they often lack a lot of transparency as well. So F2L was like, fuck that, we're not going to do it that way. We're going to just work as a team of volunteers to get money get money to support people who are incarcerated in New York State. And so, yeah, big origin story. I really need to give a really huge shout out to Mitchell for that. You know, from there, well, actually, I wanted to say one more thing about F2L too, is that one of the biggest things that F2L taught me was about sort of like resisting narratives, resisting like empathy and victimization as like a fundraising model. You know, that's what we see nonprofits doing, right? Is creating sort of perfect victim narratives, and then the people who fall outside of those narratives often aren't people who receive their support. So for example, F2L only works with people who have felony cases. Misdemeanor cases are usually the only cases that nonprofits will pick up. So, you know, F2L was committed to being like, okay, well, we're going to do what nonprofits are not doing. We're going to support people who are, you know, facing life in prison, right? Who are, you know, dealing with a lot more than prostitution cases, because prostitution cases in a lot of hands and other misdemeanor kinds of cases are usually the only ones that nonprofits will work with. And so that was like a huge lesson that I picked up from them as well. And I continue to fundraise for them and do all kinds of work with F2L. I really, really recommend for the folks here that you learn about F2L. They've been doing this work for, you know, I think 6+ years, and are really such a foundation for like how to do the job well. Body hack was another sort of moment for me. Oh, thank you, Oscar. Yes, F2L Relief Fund, that's how you can plug in. So from there, some of the fundraising that I started doing came about through Body Hack, which Cecilia mentioned. It's a trans and non-binary happy hour that originally started as just a party, because it didn't feel like there were very many intentional spaces in nightlife that were specifically for trans and non-binary people. There were a whole bunch of queer parties, but you know, I mean, you can imagine who was taking up the most space at those kinds of queer parties. And so we made a trans party with like a special password so that, you know, you could like get a discount at the bar, you know, like if you were trans, like we made it cute. And then I also started realizing, because I was also like looking for structure and consistency around how I was fundraising. So, you know, since this was a monthly party, me and the folks who were organizing it, we decided that we should start to also use it as a fundraising platform. So at each of these gatherings, have, you know, some sort of beneficiary, usually someone who is fundraising to get some, you know, surgery, maybe it was, and another time it was F2L. Another time it was a group that Cecilia introduced me to, Hope for TGNC and Y. Another time it was a group that Oscar brought into the mix, Mirror Cooperative. And so that was where I think I learned the most about mutual aid, because the biggest thing that I learned was that everything that we need is already in the community that we're in. You know, I before then, you know, even when I was working with F2L, I think I still was sort of like in a mindset that lacked abundance, and it lacked so many of the things that Tourmaline speaks so beautifully about. And through Body Hack, I was just so shocked to see how, you know, being in like a dingy little bar, and literally passing a bucket around could raise like over $1,000, sometimes over $2,000, just with other trans and queer folks. And, you know, not like the Caitlyn Jenners either, like us, you know, like, and it was amazing. Oh, another time we fundraised for Cayenne too, because Cayenne also had a little operation, a little procedure done. And we fundraised for that shit too. And yeah, it was a really, really beautiful way to also sort of like create like a fundraising platform that's consistent, that people can rely on, that people can come back to. And yeah, and then, you know, sort of like as it kept going, Oscar sort of jumped into the mix, and Oscar has become like such a core organizer, especially since we've now translated and gone into sort of like the remote Zoom party kind of format. And, you know, that sort of is like a good transition for me to share like how COVID has really impacted fundraising, right? Because, you know, when we would get so excited at these body hack events when we would hit, like, for me, I was always like, I want to raise $2,000 by the end of this night. And I thought that that was super ambitious, because it was super, super ambitious at that period of time to raise that amount of money. Without a nonprofit, without having to write a grant, like literally just amongst ourselves sharing money. And then COVID happened and we decided that we wanted to do a virtual body hack. We were like, there's a lot of people who need shit right now. A lot of people who are, you know, one, really need community or feeling very alienated, and also that there's just a lot of financial need. And so we threw one, and then decided to have it be, instead of for one place, we decided to have it be for three. We fundraised for the girls here in New York. We fundraised for a sex worker fund in New Orleans, and then we fundraised for another sex worker fund in Mexico City. And then that was the first moment where we were kind of like, because we raised $10,000 in that one night. And so it was the same format. It was same sort of like passing the virtual bucket, except it was Venmo and Cash App and all that. But that's when we really started to realize that redistribution was starting to change and that people were picking up on it in a different way. I want to be mindful of time. How much time do I have, Cecilia?
You have all the time you need. Your boyfriend is gonna make me pay for this, but you have all the time you need.
Okay, perfect. Okay. You know, we threw another one. It did the same thing. We were like, maybe it was a fluke. No, it wasn't a fluke. Like, we raised another, I think it was 9,000, Oscar, that we raised, something like that. And we also decided, we were like, okay, what's really important too, is that, you know, we want to fundraise for multiple places in the US, but we also want to be redistributing money and taking it outside of the US, right? Because even throughout, you know, this whole pandemic and throughout even the uprising as well, like, we've seen so much redistribution happen, but we haven't really seen as much that redistribution sort of like move outside of the borders of this police state. So we started fundraising for a trans house in Peru. We fundraised for another one in Ecuador, and they were super successful. And they were also just like a really amazing way to do community building and to meet other folks who are in other parts of the world, to dance with them, to like do drugs with them, to take our tops off with them. That's like, for me, like kind of like what the core, I guess the core lesson that I would maybe want to impart is like, to keep fundraising and mutual aid sexy. Cecilia knows that really well. If you've seen her Fierce Futures promos, fundraising, mutual aid, like, make it fun, make it sexy, make it about community building. Because for so many people, when they think of fundraising, they think of really institutional models that, you know, sometimes are really effective. Sometimes you can move a lot of money with a grant, but it's not going to make you horny. It's not going to do it. So that was kind of like what I always wanted. And then the uprising happened. George Floyd was killed, and there was a huge cultural shift that took place. And I think that that's sort of where redistribution really sort of started to take off in a way I had never really seen it before. You know, we were seeing how the bail funds in Minneapolis were raising $20 million. We were seeing how other bail funds here in New York were starting to say, please stop sending money, because they would have like $600,000, $800,000 dropped into their Venmo. Super unprecedented. And in a lot of cases also, you know, has created a lot of challenges, right? Like, so for folks who are not 501c3s, there's a lot of challenges around raising those kinds of money, right? Because even for Fierce Futures, like, if I can share, like, so much of that money, you know, went into Venmo. But Venmo has all of these shitty restrictions where it's like, you can only send out $3,000 a month. And so it's created all of these like different kinds of limitations where now, like, you know, they have to like create a whole timeline and they have to try to figure out how to get all that money out. And I think maybe PayPal does the same, and I think maybe Cash App does the same. And so like, we need our own system. because you know, using these kinds of things have been useful, but they also have their limits. Also audits. I'm terrified of getting an audit. I've been doing like redistribution like without any kind of 501c3 affiliation for a really long time, and I've never been audited. I don't know of anyone who's been audited. Mitchell's never been audited, but I don't trust that it won't happen one day. And so there's a lot of things that we also have to like organize around and learn. Don't jinx it. Okay, Cece, I won't jinx it. And okay, now I just want to talk a little bit really quickly. I know that Cayenne, I think, is after me, right?
Yes,
So
she is. She is.
segue. We raised $1 million for Glitz in a week. How did that happen? Okay, so how did that happen? One, Cayenne. First and foremost, Cayenne. Cayenne has been doing this work for decades. She's an icon. She's a personality. She's someone that's already so well respected, and she has lots of connections. So like that, I want to sort of like really ground it in that, is that like when you're picking who you want to fundraise for, you have to make sure that it's worth it, that the cause is worth it, right? Like buying housing for formerly incarcerated Black trans people from Rikers, good cause to get behind. Fundraising for people like Cayenne, fundraising, working alongside people like Cecilia. That's another reason why Fierce Futures was so successful, because Cecilia was one of the people doing it. And also because Cecilia brought in people like Tony Michelle, like Lasaya, like all of these people who are already such well-respected people who have been doing the work for decades. Like that's how you do it. That's how you establish the credibility. The other things that happen, and I'm sort of cautious about sort of being like, you know, sort of like giving the blueprint and then being like, you can use this to raise $1 million, because I also like, you know, I think that fundraising and activity around like redistribution sort of has cycles, and we saw this really unprecedented peak where fundraising sort of was like, you know, is like that shit got me high. Like that week that I was fundraising with Greer and with Cayenne and with all of the other folks, like, you know, I was delirious, because like it had never, you know, after having so many experiences, so many fundraisers that didn't raise shit, like so many moments where I was just like convinced that maybe people didn't care, or maybe the abundance was actually just like an ideological thing, and then maybe I wasn't getting something. Like to see something break through like that was huge. And I don't want to tell you that that's going to happen every time. But I want it to. So I'm going to give you all of the tips that I can. All right, so now it's time for me to share a screen. Sid's going to be so mad. I don't know how much time has passed.
It's fine. He will deal with that.
Okay, cool. Okie dokie. All right, so here's my thing. I just whipped this up. It's you know, there's definitely some things missing, but you know, here we have like some effective digital fundraising initiatives that I really enjoyed, that I think have some really good pieces. Fundraising toolkits, I'll talk about that in a second. Some links around things that I talked about, and then mutual aid hotties on Instagram that you've got to follow if you don't already follow. So toolkits. This was one of the most effective ways in which we got Glitz to fundraise $1 million. So if I were to go to some of the early graphic design, so these were all designed by Greer, Tranny Holzer on Instagram. And so the original idea for this fundraiser was that they wanted to fundraise $20,000 in a week. And then they wanted to fundraise, I think, $60,000 by the end of the month. And so the idea was, which I think is was the seed idea that we just sort of magnified, was let's get 20 people to commit to raising $1,000. We'll pick 20 influencers or 20 people who we know are well connected or interested enough to say, like, I will fundraise $1,000, and they'll do it and they'll help us out. So we did that. We created some graphics. We passed it along to them. We made them a toolkit that basically just like breaks everything down. you know, it has the donation links. It has a place where you can download graphics. Here are all the graphics. Loading, loading, loading. All the graphics, like make it super easy, right? We made their captions for them. We were like, here's your captions. And they just got to work. Now, what happened was that suddenly, you know, a few of these people plugged in, and then suddenly the fundraising page kept going down because everyone on Instagram and on Twitter just like plugged in so fast that we had raised over $135,000 within the first 12 hours when the goal was 20K in a week.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I was like texting with Cayenne being like, what the fuck are we gonna do? Like, this is nuts. And then, you know, I kind of want to like call into the space right now as I say this, like Tourmaline, right? Because that's who I was thinking of when I said it. When I was like, let's do $1 million. I was like, let's do $1 million. Let's do it in a week. And so I don't know if my sound is on, but I made like a little video.
In case there are any people who doubt how fucking serious I am right now, let me just say it over video. We are raising $1 million for Ceyenne Doroshow's life's work this week. $1 million is being raised. We are a fifth of the way there. We had set a goal of raising $20,000 by the end of the week, and we found that we were selling ourselves way too short, so we're going to raise $1 million. Wow. So hit me up. There are really, really easy ways to plug into this work. No one is shouldering the responsibility of this work alone. It's the people's work, and we're going to do it all together, and we're going to get Cayenne her money.
Yes.
I probably should have checked in with Cayenne before making that, because I was like, okay, Cayenne, we're gonna do $1 million. I was like getting really like manic Aries, you know. But it worked out. It worked out. And so then we just kept going, and what we did was we created this model where we were basically like that same model where you get other people to commit to raising $1,000. You create a toolkit that makes it super simple for them, and then you ask them like, can you, like, you know, and then you hit up every single person who shares the fundraiser, who likes the fundraiser, who comments on the fundraiser. You send them a message and you say, thank you so much for your support, can you do more? We set up this whole fundraising toolkit. It's super easy. Can you commit to raising $1,000 within your networks? I called it the butterfly effect. It's a pyramid scheme. 100%. It's like that Mary Kay tip. It's a pyramid scheme, but it's for good and not like weird, sketchy shit. So that's what we did. And, you know, some of the things that we would do to supplement it is that we were doing targeted outreach. We were hitting up as many influencers as we could, because we knew they had big platforms that could continue to sort of disseminate and spread it and spread it and spread it. And all the while, we were, as sort of like the people that were, you know, had the huge platforms were sharing it, we were picking up all of the comments, we were picking up all of the story mentions, all of those things, and being like, hey, fundraise for us, fundraise for us, fundraise for us. And like, I had to get like, I mean, Oscar's in this group, like we had to get like 10 people on board to just like respond to these messages to ask people to fundraise, because they were coming in like every few seconds. And then, you know, eventually, like, you know, when Janet Mock and India Moore and then AOC and then Hunter Schafer and fucking Lena Dunham and like all of those people like started posting it, it really just sort of started to take off on its own. And then the other piece of that too is that we would ask those people who we looped into fundraise to do the exact same thing. Anyone who supports, anyone who donates, get them to fundraise too. And at that moment, it really, really worked. We raised $1 million. It was a week. And so that's a model that I wanted to share. I think that one of the things that I would really want to impart with people is to be as inclusive as possible when you do fundraising. Don't worry about gatekeeping as much. Like maybe it'll be a little messy. Like, you know, I think with Glitz, it's like what sort of happened is that because people committed to doing fundraisers, they started committing to doing all kinds of fundraisers. So people were selling artwork, people were like doing, you know, fucking Pilates classes and having like the money go to Glitz, like all kinds of shit. Some of those things I probably wouldn't have co-signed. Cayenne probably wouldn't have co-signed, you know, but by not sort of like treating it like a precious fundraiser and being like, just go do the things, we were able to allow people to really feel a sense of ownership and a sense of like, I'm doing this. And so I think that that's a really powerful thing. We went from there and all of these other toolkits got made. Oscar made the toolkit for Fierce Futures. Greer made a toolkit for Kanisha Miller. Some of these fundraisers were fundraisers where, you know, a GoFundMe that had been sitting for, you know, for a week had $300 in it. We would pick it up, we'd put it on the Glitz page, we'd make a toolkit, and it would end up, you know, they would double the GoFundMe goal, raise $30,000 in a day. The Black Excellence Collective that Joshua Allen founded with a group of other Black trans youth also used a similar toolkit that worked really well. So definitely think of these toolkits because you want to empower people to take the initiative themselves, right? Donating is one thing, but committing people to organize is totally another. And it reminds me actually of another origin story that I just want to share really quickly is when I went to a fundraising workshop at ALP back in 2015 that Alok was putting on. And Alok did this whole thing. And like back in the day, it was like post a cute selfie on Facebook. And then, because people only respond to selfies, and then talk about what you want to fundraise for in the comments. But, you know, we were like all like listening and learning. And then Alok sort of like did a little pivot and was like, okay, now we're going to raise $1,500 in the next 10 minutes to everyone who was in the room and who was just here to learn. And so we were suddenly like, oh shit, we got to like fundraise. And they were like, okay, tap into your circles, call your people, call your mom, call your friends, like post the thing on social media. And I don't know if we did it. I think we got to like $800, but that was $800 that would not have gotten raised otherwise. That got raised in 10 minutes by a bunch of people who did not know what they were doing. So you got to just empower people. You empower people to do it themselves. And yeah, I think that one of the things that I'm hearing on the ground right now is that we are in a little bit of a slump, like not even a slump, like fundraise. We're just, it's a lot harder to fundraise $1 million in a week. It's not, I think that there's probably a few reasons, like people's unemployment checks, are, you know, they're not as big as they were back then. It was crazy to have like, you know, in the middle of an economic depression, to have so much redistribution happening. And there's still a ton of redistribution that's happening, but it's not at the scale that it was then. I think we can get it to come back. I have to believe that it will come back, and we have to demand that it comes back tenfold, right? So, you know, my sort of things that I would tell people is if you're going to do fundraisers, don't be discouraged. Not every fundraiser is going to be like the Glitz fundraiser. Not every fundraiser is going to be super successful. Sometimes you're going to do an in-person fundraiser and not that many people are going to show up. You have to have the tenacity and the consistency to just keep going and keep going and keep going and never forget why you're doing it. I guess that's it. Thank you so much.
Oh my God, Rio, thank you so much. I wanted to add to it, and like maybe you can just give us a little bit of an understanding. Like, you know, when we were doing Fierce Futures, like we were doing so much work and it wasn't paying off though, and like we were like, what the fuck is happening? Why isn't it going nowhere? And then we realized that Instagram was shadowing the hashtag. So, let's talk a little bit about how we have to be aware of like how social media sometimes can give us a lot of, through fundraising, and can give us a lot through, advertising what we're doing, but they can also, fuck shit up, in a terrible way. So, be mindful of that.
So real. That's so real. Yeah, you always have to also be like, these fundraising toolkits are working now, but that doesn't mean that they're going to work forever. Like you always have to be really responsive, pivot. People are going to want to shit in your face like Instagram and do shadow banning. Like you gotta sort of think on your toes and just be ready to pivot whenever challenges come by.
I love you so much. I'm gonna have to hear from your boyfriend now, but it's fine. Um, I love you. Thank you for all the work that you do. Not only that, Rio not only raise money. Rio has connected me with the family of Mercy Mac, and we're gonna try to help them with legal advice. So fundraising can be money, but mutual aid can be whatever else you need. What do you need? Legal advice, we'll get it somewhere. What do you need? Legal, advice on where to buy a house, where to get something. So let's help each other. Thank you, Rio. I love you so much. As I said before, the universe has been so good to me when it put you in my path. And yes, I totally clocked you. I do that. And see how I make your boyfriend like really, really mad. Hi, Caleb. Hi, Bo. Hi, Eva. How are you? Is Tabata still here? Hi, JD. Hi, Patty. Hi, Carla. Is he nervous already? Is he fuming? Hi, Flannery. Hi, Tease. Hi, Nairobi. What's up? Oh, hi, Kali. Hi, Marika. Hi, Sid. Hi. Hola, Tabata. Hola, Oscar. We have Charlie's here. Charlie, I don't see you, but I see your name. Catalina, Christian, Echo, Diego, Elliot. Two Eliots. I have two Eliots. One I know very well. And Eva, I just talked about Eva, Fatima. Flower, hola, Flower! Gina, Jessie, Jose, Carla, Mars, Mateo, you here? Enkechi, Ophelia, Cher, you here? I love Cher. Yuka, oh my God, so many people. Hi, Charlie. Hi, Tabata. I love you. Oh my God. Okay, I have to keep going now. I have to keep going. So, Rio did this amazing fundraising, and they put together $1 million, and that $1 million went to do amazing work by one of the most amazing people that I ever met in my life, my sister Cayenne. Who has always shared all that she has. Like, what Cayenne has is for everybody. That's how I see it, right? Over the last 4 years, she has been doing this work to GLEATS, which is gay and lesbian living in a transgender society. But she's been doing this for much longer without any kind of name under. She was just doing this work, right? GLEATS has been working with transgender sex workers in New York and those seeking asylum from abroad. To get the safety and the well-being from housing, education, and employment. The work that they do is amazing. So do yourself a favor and go to GLEATS.org and check it out because they are amazing. So I have the pleasure to introduce my sister, love of my life, Ceyenne Doroshow. Hi, baby. Is Cayenne here?
Oh, she's muted. I got her. Okay, you're unmuted now, baby.
Oh, okay.
Hola, mama.
Hola, señorita Costa.
So good to see you.
I love you.
Oh, I love you so much. You look so beautiful, and your house looks so beautiful. And ay. Cayenne, tell me a little bit, how did you start with this idea of help people, and especially people in the sex trade? How this whole thing started? What was the beginning of you doing this work? Oh, she froze a little bit. Let me see if she gets back. I hope she does. At least she froze smiling, though. I always froze in so weird faces. I always froze like, she froze smiling like a diva. I love it. Let's see if Cayenne comes back. Um, oh, I don't know. Let's see. Let's wait for a minute. Maybe I should go to Milo and make sure. Can you the people in tech make sure that Cayenne is okay? And I can go back to Cayenne, and then I'm gonna take a minute then to introduce my friend Milo. Oh my God, such a pleasure to have Milo here. Milo lives in Danville. He's a queer transgender person, and Milo lives upstate with his partner in Livingston County, and they raise Icelandic sheep. I had the opportunity to kind of like video chat with Milo, and I get to see all the sheep. He runs a solo civil rights law practice doing sliding kill for trans and gender non-binary people. And since the beginning of 2019, Milo has been racing for a marathon to raise awareness and money for Marsha P. Johnson Institute and trans justice funding project that is called Run for Equality. So hi, Milo, what's up?
Hi, Cecilia. Good to
Oh
see
my
you.
God.
Um,
How are the sheep?
oh my gosh, they're so happy. They're out frolicking in the fields. I wanted
love
to
it.
show people sheep, but if I get so close, they'll just be loud and then we won't get to talk about
They
it.
get loud. They get very, very loud though.
They do.
So
They do.
Milo, tell me a little bit, because you live in, for me it was really important to have voices from up there in the state though. Because like we live in New York City and we always forget about that, trans people are all over the country though. So tell me a little bit, what are the needs of trans folks, outside of New York City, especially upstate and in the area that you live?
Yeah. Well, first, I just want to say, thank you for having me on this, and I'm like floored by the royalty on this call, and so I'm just really grateful to have been asked to be part of this. So yeah, so I'm a civil rights attorney up here in upstate New York, and I get calls from people all across the state outside of New York City for a whole host of things, from name changes to like employment discrimination and healthcare access and housing, and also just trying to get like disability benefits, or their neighbors being a douchebag because they're trans, or the local police have decided to target them because they live in some small little podunk town, and they have to walk from their house to the grocery store, and the police always pick them up when they're walking. And like you name it, people experience it, and they don't have attorneys that they can go to in their local area that will listen to them and take them seriously and respect them and like represent them competently. And I can't always help all people. I don't know everything about the law, but I do my best to connect people to attorneys that I trust and to organizations that I train, and to try to make any services I provide as like sliding scale affordable as I possibly can, without making my partner too mad for giving away all my work for free. I would give it away for free if I could, but I can't quite yet. The sheep don't pay my bills quite yet, but we're trying.
We're waiting. We betting on the sheep. Please. Milo, and tell me a little bit how mutual aid looks like in rural New York.
Yeah, I mean, I think that mutual aid has been around here for a really long time, and I think that the pandemic has really brought out the best in it for people. We've seen folks in small towns across upstate New York really like show up for people, making sure people have food, have access to medication. We have people who are like less susceptible to or less risk of like COVID-19 going and picking up medicine, picking up, taking pets to vet visits and doing things for people who are more susceptible and vulnerable. People in small towns like Olean, New York, which a lot of people don't know where that is. It is a small and mighty town with lots of queer community that have been using the like the park in the middle of the town as a gathering place for clothing swaps, for food swaps, for like just community and playing music and hanging out and checking in on each other, as well as for protesting and showing up against police presence in Olean. It's just one of many examples of like how people show up for each other. It's a really beautiful thing.
I love it. And Milo, tell me a little bit about Run for Trans Equality. How did that come about? What is it? How does it work? How does that translate to money? Tell me a little bit about Run for Trans Equality.
Yeah, well, in the shadow of Rio, who's like a star in this, right? My fundraising efforts are pretty small, right, by comparison. But I'm so steeped in like trans rights work all day, every day. It's all I do. And it's the only reason that I do the work that I do. And in the heart of the pandemic, with everything happening, I felt like I needed to do more. I needed to do something. You know, I just felt really inert and helpless. And I think a lot of folks were feeling that way. And so I decided to get my ass up and go do something. So I started running, which, by the way, I'm like not a runner. It's not in my genes to run. I am not a natural athlete by any stretch of the imagination. I am definitely like a natural ice cream consumer. It's my favorite food group. So it is like against all of my DNA to like get up and go do this. But I started running and also like videoing myself running and talking about trans issues, about race inequity, like trans and race inequity, and trying to just like bring some light and attention to the ways that the pandemic and our political climate right now and moment that we're in are really like exacerbating existing inequities. And at the time, I was really excited to raise money for the Marsha P. Johnson Institute, which was giving money to Black trans sex workers and who were in need and in the moment of the pandemic, and also the Trans Justice Funding Project, which is like so critically important to getting money to groups that don't have 501c3 status and don't have fiscal sponsors to do the amazing work they're doing on the ground. So the idea was, okay, I'm going to train for this marathon on November 14th. It is a one-person marathon. It's just me. I'm just running by myself. So if anybody wants to run in solidarity somewhere else, I am all for it. Like I could use the camaraderie in this. So please feel free to join in on this effort. But the idea is that people would pledge money for each mile that I run while I'm preparing for the marathon and while I'm running the actual thing in November. So it could be like 1 cent per mile, which would add up to like, I think maybe $10 total over the course of the time, or up to however much you wanted to do, or just one-time donation. And the money would go to those organizations. And in the meantime, Cecilia, you got to be one of my guests. One of my favorite things about this project and this fundraiser is inviting people to come and run with me. So while I'm running, we have a Zoom conversation and you just talk about whatever it is you want to talk about trans resilience, about trans dreams, about trans futures, about whatever it is that we need to talk about to let people know what's going on in our community and what's important to us. And Cecilia got to hang out with me on the farm for one of those runs. It was a lot of fun. And you can check those out on YouTube. They're available there as well. And I'll drop the link in the chat for all of this stuff.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I think like, Milo keeps saying, all these big players of fundraising are going to be there. I don't know if it's enough to be in this group. And I'm like, yes, because, we can all start with little things. Like, if you can fundraise like $50 for somebody that needs it and you make the effort, that's what counts. That's what counts, y'all. It's great that, people like Rio raises $1 million. It's great that, that, for example, with Fear Futures, we raised like $64,000. Oh, Rio, los de glasses, los anteojos. So, but it's also good if you raise $50 for somebody that needs food, though. So it's not such a thing as a small effort. It's the effort that counts. So we all can do that. So please support Milo and just drop everything there for the fundraising effort of Run for Equality, for Trans Equality, which is the Marsha P. Johnson Institute, which is a great organization. I love Elle. And the Trans Justice Project that has been supporting organizations that don't have a 501c3 and they can get grants. So they give them like little grants, like $5,000, $10,000. That is great seed money to start doing the work that they do. So thank you, Milo. Thank you so much.
And if anybody is interested in like joining me for one of the running conversations, please let me know. I like, nobody needs to hear me talking for that long. So I love talking to people while I'm running. It's a lot of fun. Cecilia can relate to that and share that. But I thank you for your time and thank you for everything that you all are doing in your own way. It's teamwork makes the dream work. So
I love having you here. Thank you so much. Now, the question is this bitch back? Where is Cayenne? Where is my favorite hoe? Is she here? What do I have to say for her to show up? I don't know.
Hello. Hi.
Tell me what happened. Enlighten me.
So the guys in the living room painting the living room, and one of them unplugs the Wi-Fi. I love him. I'm a choke him. I love him, but I'm a choke him.
So
with kindness and hugs.
Tell me, Mama, tell me a little bit of how you started with this idea of helping others. How, you know, I know your life and we had so many conversations, but tell me how your journey of doing this work started for you.
It started from denial. It started from being denied stuff. It started from going for services and getting in those services, and either I didn't look poor enough, or I didn't look trans enough, or I didn't look this enough, or that enough. For whatever reason, y'all want me to kill y'all in there? Okay, so it started from being denied services from the services. When you're going for help, you really don't need to be judged based on gender identity, race, creed, color. None of that is okay. Like, it's really fucked up when you're trying to get your shit together and the very people that are put in position to help might judge you. It's a problem.
Yeah.
I guess this work started from me being a trans baby and not getting what I needed, and spiraling into me continuing to help people. Something somebody told me a long time ago did not come true was, if you continue to help people, you're gonna die. And I've continued 30-something years of helping people. I'm still here.
Cayenne, I have gone to your home and I have found strangers there, and I was like, who is this person, Cayenne? And it's the person that you got from the street, right? And I'm always, sometimes I'm scared for you, but I'm always amazed by, you know, what the big heart that you have. So tell me, you know, at the beginning, you just started working in your home, right? You have people there and you help them. Tell me.
In the beginning, I had no choice. I had worked for non-for-profits that had more or less used my body and my mind and didn't pay me appropriately, didn't treat me well. So why would I continue that path? If I can do the work and not have to depend on anybody, that's the work. And I had to learn, if I wanted to do this authentically, waiting for grants, waiting for somebody to help me out was not gonna be the way that I could do this. At the same time, people still need help. They still need help. While you waiting for funding, somebody is dying. We are now in a pandemic. We have been in a pandemic way before fucking Corona, as far as I'm considered. So this work is about blocking these obstacles that come against us. We are a resilient people, but society is trying, for some reason, we have become the fashion icons of being taken out. This is unacceptable. So this work is about bringing people to safety, giving them what they need, but they need to have the tools themselves. I don't know what you want. You have to tell me. And then we can figure out how to make this happen. And, you know, people had literally got me from Facebook. All the calls I got were emergency calls from Uganda, from South Africa, from Berlin. All these places, people knew about me. I didn't even know them, with the simple question, can you help me? I might die. That's the reason why I get up. And I got up at 4 o'clock in the morning and answered that call because somebody needed to be on the other end of that phone for that trans baby that's saying they're trying to kill me. Please get me out of here. And by doing that, there's a connection I think I'll have with some of these people for a lifetime, because I'm not just bringing them from one stage in life. I want to see their life flourish. I want to see them grow and continue to grow. And I want to see them do exactly what we're doing, building equity within our community. It's the Sasha and Olympias. It's Milo. It's that fucking Rio who I love to death. That salty lesbian bitch. I love her. But it's also the people behind the scenes, like Rio, that doesn't want to be seen, but will jump on a video for 10 minutes. That's the most I've seen her jump on anything. But this is the work. This is how you do this work.
Baby, you mentioned safety, and you know, we just talked about like the fact that we lost 3 Black trans women this week. And like last night we talked on the phone and we cried on the phone and we try to entertain each other to forget, and we try to laugh, but it's so much pain. And when you talk about safety, you know, what safety looks like to a Black trans woman?
It looks very scary. You're right, because Mel, I'm on a Zoom call. I'll call you back. Because I've been put in this predicament of helping people, you're very right. Bringing people right into my home has brought harm against me. Sometimes because my heart is too big. And I keep allowing, like, I believe we should have chances. I'm learning now that I have to guard myself. But I would have always bought people, if I don't have no place to put you, bitch, come home. And you know, some of the closest people to me have hurt me because I brought them home. And I didn't believe in leaving them where they at. Just let them sit in the shit and deal with it. I wanted to help. And that makes me a strange person. and it is hard, it's taxing. And what safety looks like for girls like us. I never thought that I would have to worry about walking down the block, or like, I'm not a scary person. And I have a tone, and I set a tone in my step that people don't mess with me. But there has been days when people try it, and I've been smart enough to de-escalate, to get the hell out of there. So God can save my life another day. But you know, this work and the immediate fear that we're fearing, right? I think every trans woman right now is trying to figure out how to protect herself. The what ifs. And we don't have the tools. We're not generally violent people, but now we find ourselves in society having to plan an escape route. If you could hear in my house right now, my front door says front door, my back door says back door. So I can know if somebody's trying to get up in here. I should never have to live like this. None of us shouldn't. We've become the hunted. Where has society failed? This is where this work comes from, because society may have dropped the ball on us, but I'll be damned if Cayenne or Cecilia or Olympia or Sasha or Rio will drop the ball on our people. This is not about color. This is about us. This is about us, and we need to take care of us.
And you're doing that. And, you know, I learned so much from you. And, you know, it's so much that you have done for me. And I want to tell people, like, you know, maybe you don't get to understand the extent of the work that Cayenne does. Like, Rikers Island would call her and would tell her, they wouldn't call nonprofits, they would call Cayenne and they would say, we letting go these two trans women. We're gonna leave them at the end of the fucking bridge. I hate that bridge though. I hate that fucking bridge. So they would just bring them across the bridge, and Cayenne would go and get those people and get them to safety and get them to a place to sleep, not for a night, but for a month, right? And nobody else is doing that. Nobody else is doing that. So when we said that the Rio fundraiser $1 million, it sounds like a lot. It's not. She deserves much more than that. Much more than that.
You know what's so funny? We set out to rent these Airbnbs for until COVID was over, but we kind of like our people. So we rented the Airbnb for a year. That gives some of them time to go to their next semester in college, to shoot for that dream, to get training, to get their stuff together during what looks like a whole new world for us. This is a new world they came home to. Just today, I got 3 phone calls from 3 separate individuals in jail that were all raped by one person, one man. All 3 individuals have filed cases with PREA. They're scared for their lives. They were told, you know, don't create paperwork for us. One of them is now sitting in isolation. Another one is in a psych ward. This is unacceptable. But I'm glad I'm here to get the call from Rikers Island. It's our volunteers. So Cayenne don't go pick their asses up, let you know. Our volunteers are fast and furious. Soon as we get the call, it goes into a spreadsheet. The volunteers go pick them up with trans dignity kits. So when they come home, they can get their zhuzh together. That's what they need. The trans men, they want their stuff. They need their stuff. When they come home, they have their own Amazon wish list. Free them all for public health. God bless those babies, Adelaide, and all those little glorious children. Those children put together a fundraiser to serve our community individually so they can get their needs met. So the girls can get their hair and their binders and their nail and their makeup, and the boys can get their, you know, Timberlands and the rest of that kind of stuff, but they're getting their needs met. They're not begging somebody for tomorrow. We are helping them get to tomorrow.
I love you. I love you so much.
You.
Before we go, I need to ask you a question because you know, some of you that had the pleasure to go to Cayenne's house, is one thing that is consistent at any time and every time you go to Cayenne. You're gonna eat the most amazing food. You're gonna get to taste the most amazing food ever. What is it with you and making food for people?
Food is the key to the soul of your heart. It is the thing when people are eating my food, I want them to know that they're getting a little piece of me. That love makes you want to take a nap after you're done. You could be partying, but guarantee after you eat, party might be just over.
Cayenne, I love you so much. Let's make sure that we get your PayPal is cookingin heels49@9@gmail.com. The Venmo is at Glitz Inc. and follow Cayenne at Doroshow in Instagram, and Glitz is the Instagram is at Glitz Inc. It's all in the chat. Follow Cayenne, follow Glitz, donate, give money, because your money goes to amazing work. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. Yes.
One thing, we just put a deposit on a 12-unit building in Forest Park South. We now have the equity New York City needs to know. This is only the start. Children, we can all do this.
This Black trans woman sex worker from the Caribbean just have a 12-unit house to house another Black trans woman sex worker immigrants. So how about that? Can we do the shit that we need to do, or what?
Yes.
Oh,
no, I love you. I'll talk to you soon.
What? That's
Yes.
amazing, 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 amazing. I love you, Cayenne. I love you so much, so much.
I love you. I love all of you.
Stay there for a minute, because now I have to introduce, I love her so much. Oh God, this is the last of the show. We are not that bad. I thought like we were gonna go so much over time, but it's only, we're gonna be ending in a couple of minutes. But you all have the honor and you all have the privilege, and you all are so lucky to be able to witness our next and last participant. Keke Velazquez Lord is a native of Buffalo, New York. For the past 10 years, she has been working at Evergreen Health, where she's the grant quality manager at this time. In her role, she provides internal audits and supportive services for the agency's grant-funded programs. Keke recently learned a master's on public administration and nonprofit management. Check that out. This amazing trans woman just got a master's on public administration and nonprofit management. That's amazing. She works in the LGBTQIA community for the last 20 years. And she's also a co-parent of her two amazing nieces that they're so cute. They're the cutest girls ever. And they're the joy of her life. I seen Keke saying like, oh no, I can't go for dinner because I have to take care of my nieces. You know, everything stops when the nieces need something. I love her. Keke is also the show director and the MC at Club Marcella, and the producer of Buffalo Drag Brunch, a monthly drag brunch in Buffalo. She is gonna grace us with a performance. Follow her on Instagram at Keke Velazquez Lord. And if you wanna tip her, like, you know, imagine if you were watching her show in a club, you would tip her, but you can do it in Venmo, or you can do it in Cash App. The Venmo is KVL716, and the Cash App is the same. So drop a coin for Keke, and I am so happy to leave you all with the amazing Keke Velazquez Lord.
Are you with me?
Yes,
We're good? We're good, Sid? Oscar?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
God provides. Why do I worry about my life when you come to my rescue 1,000 times? Every other voice, it is a lie. God provides. God provides in ways I can't explain and can't deny. The little that I have, He multiplies. Just when I feel He won't show up on time, God provides. He'll come through when the clouds of doubt tonight, close your eyes, there's no more need to fight. Watch God provide. God provides. It's hard to say when there's no food to eat, or what you feel that life will be. And will this be another year misery for me? But my faith can't survive on just things I see, and my feelings can't control my destiny. See, God, I only want what you believe for me. So tonight, close your eyes, there's no more need to fight. Ooh, watch God provide. Yeah, He will provide before your eyes. Oh, He will. So tonight, close your eyes, there's no more need to fight. Watch God provide. God So tonight, close your eyes, there's no more need to fight. People of God, watch God provide. Yes! Oh, He will. So tonight, close your eyes, there's no more need to fight. So tonight, close your eyes, there's no more need to fight. Close your eyes. So tonight, you don't have to worry, you don't have to fret. God will be right there. Yeah, He's standing with His arms wide open. So tonight, close your eyes. You'll never need Him. You'll never need Him. He'll be right there. So tonight, no more need to fight. So tonight, close your eyes. There's no more need to fight. Watch God provide. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Y'all believe He'll do it?
Woo! Yes, sister!
Go.
Wow!
Oh my God! Hey,
I got her.
Asha, we can't hear you, sister. Muted.
I'm sorry, what happened?
We can hear you now.
We hear you now.
Can you hear me now? Yes.
Oh, hi. I was talking and I was muted. Kelly's Venmo is KVL716 and her Cash App is KVL716. Tip a sister that knows how to entertain, that knows how to motherfucking entertain. And that mug deserves a tip, though. You look so beautiful. You look so beautiful. Kelly, how are you?
I am fabulous. Let me pull up a chair in my dining room. So let me just sit down. I am fabulous. How's everyone?
We are having a good time, and we are so lucky to have your talent. And we are so lucky to have you. I love you so much, Katie. How is everything up there?
Everything is good. It's very hot. About 85.
Kelly, and if people want to hire you for their virtual event, how they can find you?
You can email me at Kelly Craig, like my name, KELLYCRAIG 2, kellycraig2@gmail, or find me on Facebook and Instagram, Keke Velazquez, VALASQUEZ, Lord, or just call me, 716.
You all deserve to have Kelly in your programming because she is amazing. Kelly, I love you so much.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Of course.
To be a part of the discussion, just sitting here and listening to all the stories. I'm like, I got some work to do here in Buffalo.
So amazing. I love you, Kelly.
Love you too. Thank you guys so much.
All right. So now, Sid, can you share a poll before we go? Where is Sid? Yes.
Here.
I want you, it's 57 of you right now. I need you to fill this poll as soon as possible. It's just a couple of questions, but it's going to help us plan the next one, plan the next meeting that we are going to have. So I would love for you to use this poll to let us know what's necessary for all of you. So yes, let me see how you're doing it. Thank you. We need a couple more. We need to know what worked for you, what didn't, what do you want to see next. It will be very, very important and help us. So while you do that poll, we don't have unfortunately we don't have enough time for Q&A, and I have to take a minute to recognize the amazing talent and the amazing people that we had in this room today. So I want to say thank you so much to my friend Sasha Alexander. Thank you, Sasha. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all the work you do. I love you very, very much. I have to say thank you so much to my sister Tourmaline. Your talent is unparalleled. You are such a gift to humanity, and not just because of the work that you do, because of the person that you are. You are such a beautiful soul. Being around you is such a gift to my soul when I'm around you. Thank you to Milo for doing all the work and putting, like, you know, his talent as a lawyer, and he's making an effort to be running when he never did, to make some money for these amazing organizations. Thank you to Kelly for bringing so much beauty in our community and so much joy. And thank you so much to Rio for putting, you know, all the effort. Like, you have taught us all how to make money for those that need it the most. And thank you to my sister, Ceyenne Doroshow, for doing the work that nobody does, you know? Nobody goes and gets you from jail. And, you know, and I crossed that bridge. I crossed the bridge from Rikers Island to the part of Queens, and nobody was waiting for me at the time. And I didn't know that it was a Cayenne Doroshow out there. So many people in Rikers, you know, don't know that they don't even know that it's help out there. So thank you, Cayenne, for being the person waiting in the other side of the bridge. You are saving somebody's life. Thank you all for being here. We are amazing people. I want to remind you all to just put up in your prayers the name of Tiffany Harris, Quesha D. Hari, and Asia Raquel. They're the 3 trans women that we lost in this week. Please uplift them in your prayers if you pray, or in your minds. You know, we need community. So thank you all so much for being here, and I am inviting you all to the party. It's a party that they are doing. It's called the People's Rent Party, and it's raising money for Black trans women to pay rent. And our dear a friend Imani is organizing it from Sister Leadership Collective. So Oscar, if you can put how people can get there. Yes, just add it so people can get to this amazing fundraising and party. Yes, there it is, there it is. Thank you. I love you all. Let me do my last run. I love you. Oh, Ax is here. Oh my God, Danielle, I haven't seen you in so long. So good to see your name here. Cali, Catalina, Christian, Diego, Danica, my Elliot, mi amor, Ethan, Fatima, Eva, Flannery. And I'm sorry if I'm fucking up your name, though. I have like, in Spanish, I read in Spanish sometimes, sorry. Flower, ¿cómo estás, mi amor? Fred, Giaura, you here? Oh my God, so good to see your name. Jesse, Jordan, Josh, Carla, Katia, hola Katia, June Romero, Katia, Lee, La Mia, oh my God, La Mia, I love La Mia from upstate, I love La Mia, my sister La Mia, Lindsay, Marika, Nadia, Nairobi, I just saw your face. Hi, baby, you're so beautiful. And Nino, and Kechi, Ophelia, Patty, I love you, Patty. Cher, you are such a beauty and such an amazing talent. Third Monitor, I don't know who this person is, or if something. Teeth with a Z. I saw your face before. Vari and Z and all the ones that are already gone, but I love you all. Thank you so much to the folks that did interpretation, to Colectivo Babila. They are amazing. Thank you all for being here. I am just so glad to have such a beautiful community. You all keep me alive, and that's what we're doing. We're keeping each other alive by mutual funding and supporting each other. And that is what's up. Nothing else is important. You all are important. You all are the most important people in my world. I just want to live with all of you, and that's it. I love you all. Have a good night. Enjoy the weekend. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.